Hello, hello, and welcome to Self-Care is Sexy. My name is Chris, and I'll be your host. We're a podcast that's here to generate and share self-care ideas with each other. Last episode, we talked all about why we're not going to just self-destruct even if it feels like it's the end of times, and instead, we're going to focus on self-care and taking really great care of ourselves so that if and when the lights go out and it all goes to hell, we have the strength within us needed to get through whatever's next. If you missed that episode or you need to catch up, you can always find our show on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and at our website, www.selfcareissexy.com. I want to give you a quick preview of what to expect from today's show. Today, I'm very excited to get back to the thing I love doing the most on this podcast, which is interviewing folks about self-care ideas. So today's episode features Megan Hussey, the owner of Safe Space Reiki. She is an incredible wealth of knowledge and powerhouse when it comes to energy work and explaining it to us in a way that makes it make sense. And she's not the typical kind of person that you would assume is all into the woo and Reiki. She got into it very interestingly, and this interview breaks down everything you've ever wanted to know. I'm so thrilled to welcome her to the show, but first, a few quick housekeeping notes.
Well, first of all, thank you. I really do appreciate you taking time to be on our show. I have a ton of questions, and I don't want to overwhelm you, but...
Overwhelm away.
I guess let's start with, would you mind taking a moment just first to introduce yourself, tell us about your business?
So, Megan Hussey, I am the owner of Safe Space Reiki in Oregon City, and I'm a Reiki master and certified in animal Reiki and people.
What is it exactly? If you had to, dumb it down for us, what is it exactly? I've heard about it. I know it's body work.
Sure.
That's about all I know.
So in 100 words or less, or 20 words or less,
right.
It's basically energy work for stress reduction that promotes healing.
I mean, that's pretty concise.
Succinct.
Yeah.
Boom. Yeah.
I should ask first.
Leaving 53 more minutes for what I do.
Right. And done.
And done. Safe Space Reiki.
It's a hard concept to wrap
one's
brain around, especially if you're not into the woo. Right.
I always say, is woo woo for you, and it's weird, but it works.
So how did you get into it? Because you were probably the last person
human on earth, yeah.
that I would ever associate with energy body work.
I know. Me too. So our little dog Pepper, she had basically something in her back that slipped, whatever, and she couldn't walk. And it was all of a sudden. And so you have this crazy hurting dog that couldn't walk. And I instinctually, I'm a little intuitive, as you know, I just knew what to do. Like to make sure she had a pulse in her feet and make sure she had just blood flow to different areas to make sure. Because her feet started to get cold and I was like, nope, that's not good.
Right.
And so I'm just, at that point, I was just massaging her spinal cord, and we were, of course, taking her to a vet, right?
Right, all the traditional
things. Yeah. And so the vet, when we took her in, the vet also has kind of an Eastern touch. But I carried Pepper in, and she ran out.
So you took her to the vet. She's not walking. The dog's not walking.
The dog is not walking.
You take her to the vet. You kind of have an idea of what might be going wrong. What did the vet do?
So the vet did acupuncture and was also Reiki 1, I think, attuned.
Oh, wow.
And so...
Did the vet tell you that before, or did you
No, I had no idea. I told her, I was like, so here's what I did, and just... Because I was, pulling on her tail and just stretching, just trying to figure it out. And, this was... We couldn't get her in to the vet for, 3 days, And there's that moment where you're like, shit, we have to put our dog down.
Mm. And was she that old? I don't think she's not that old, right?
No. Pepper, I think, is 6.
Oh, that's not
I think
old
her
at all,
and Callie are 6.
Wow.
So Pepper runs out of the vet, and we were like, wait, what? what did you just do?
Right.
And she was like, so have you ever heard of Reiki? And I was like, what? No. What are you talking about? And she's like, well, you should probably look into it because you just did it. And most of why that dog ran out is your touch and acupuncture.
Wow.
And
you had never heard of it before that?
No. Mm-mm.
Never, because you're like from the Midwest and like
Yeah.
kind of like conservative, right?
I'm from the Midwest. I joined the Army Reserves when I was 19. I've been a corrections officer in a male maximum security prison, and I was a deputy sheriff on the road for 6.5 years, and with the sheriff's office for 8. So
Wow.
the last,
Right. Right, you're the facts and you're the, like evidence and the, very like
yeah.
discernment and proof kind of person at this
Generally,
point.
yeah, I have struggled with duality, but
Yeah.
no
So
more.
then you get exposed to it, and then what made you decide, like, was it right then that you're like, I should see what this whole, Reiki thing is about and like figure out just like curiosity
it was shiny, right? Squirrel!
Right?
And I was like, ooh, a new thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn a new thing. That's exciting. I love new things.
Yeah.
Yay! Do the new thing. And so I read about it and I was like, well, that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
And Amber was like, obviously it's not crazy because Pepper is walking. And I'm
Right.
like, okay.
Had you had exposure to like acupuncture and other kinds of body work at that point? So
Oh,
at
yes.
least you,
And I was not totally a closed off human being to other modalities of healing
Yeah.
at that time because I had been out of law enforcement for 4 years and just kind of going through what that means. And for anyone out there that's like, what does that have to do with anything? It's kind of like leaving a culture. It's like you've been living in a culture for so long and then you just walk away. It's like moving to Norway. It's going to take you a minute to become
to
Norwegian.
get your bearings. Right. Right.
Yeah.
So
and so
civilian hood.
yeah, and for real, because I'm now in the age bracket where I'm not going to do that type of work anymore.
Yeah.
And so when I was like, okay, and I'm learning all about, CBD and, cannabinoids and what does that do? And because I can now.
A little less restrictive culture out here in the civilian world.
Yep. Yeah, the civilian world is kind of cool.
I know. We have a lot of freedoms.
We do. I'm like, this is amazing. And so I just was like, oh, well, I want to know all about it because that's what I do.
Yeah.
Because I rock ADHD as my superpower.
And you are a very curious person.
And I want to learn everything there is, and I'm pissed that I won't live long enough to do it. Right?
This time.
Right. This go around, this is my skill set, and then I can add on whatever I want.
Okay, so I understand, like, getting curious and wanting to know about it, but there's a big leap between just wanting to know about this new thing and becoming certified and then, like you said, master
Reiki
level.
master.
Yeah. So,
and animal Reiki certified.
because you and I both know when it is like new shiny thing that you're focused on.
Yeah.
You often like just lose interest and you don't really pursue it as a career or a business
as a thing.
Yeah. So when did that switch? Or how did that happen?
So I did a lot of research and I was like, okay. And then Reiki 1 and 2. So there's Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Reiki Master, and then Karuna Reiki Master, and that's in our lineage. And there are different lineages of Reiki certification. I'm through the International Center for Reiki Training. That's kind of my flow, the Usui Sensei line.
Ooh, so like martial arts, how you go through a specific...
kind of lineages. And there's different lineages, out there.
Sure.
Same practice.
Cool.
Probably different symbols, but same practice. And I just was like, okay. And I usually go all in when I'm curious. And I'm like, okay, a weekend, I can get certified. I can get certified in Reiki 1, 2 in a weekend. And
that's a pretty intense weekend.
Oh my God.
Did you have to go away to get certified? Or did
I did it here in town. There was my first teacher. She taught Reiki 1 and 2 in her little apartment. There were 6 of us, pre-COVID, clearly.
Right.
And we did, it was intense. You know, it was basically 2 days of meditation and journeying and learning and learning.
Right. And what got you to go from, this is an interesting new shiny thing I'm learning about, to, and now I want to do a business. I want to
Sure.
start this as a practitioner.
I think I go all in with things when I learn new stuff. Like, I like to learn experientially. I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I want to learn the thing in the thing because it's easier.
Yeah.
Especially for me. And so, but the business, it just seemed like that was the next step. But the cool thing about that was, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
I literally opened my business and then it was COVID.
Yeah. How did you deal with that? Jeez.
That was actually perfect because I know
Huh?
the only human that says that.
Right.
Because I had to sit with the energy, and I had to work with it, and I had to meditate with it, and I had to do the ritual of daily self Reiki, and then the animal Reiki classes came online because they had just finished that training, and so I did that online. COVID allowed me the time to commit to the practice. Whereas, yeah, it might have just been some shiny thing where, 5 years from now, I'm like, oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah. Add it to the list.
At the bar with vodka tonic. Oh, I did that one time. Yeah, no, I don't really remember anything, but I can't help you per se right now.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I chose. I didn't have to. I sat with it.
Yeah.
And then it got stronger, and then eventually I was called to do Reiki Master training, which that was a lot. It was super powerful.
Yeah. Was that also a weekend
Yeah, it was 3 days.
immersion thing? Yeah.
3 days of meditating
Oh, Lord.
and journeying, and then I did a year-long journey class,
Wow.
which is super intense.
I bet.
Yeah, but it was cool. What's funny, and you will love this, I joined that class not understanding what journeys were. And so my first partner, because we got hooked up, and I was like, okay, I'm going to just be honest, we're online. I had no effing idea that you and I were going to basically lay down on our little tables and do a journey together, connected mentally, and then talk about it. And she was like, yeah, I had no idea either. And I'm like, cool. And we've been friends ever since.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is an experience for sure.
Yeah, it's super cool.
That's great.
Because you can journeys are weird.
Yeah.
Journeys are weird, but fascinating. And that's, most of the big decisions are made after you do a journey. Because then you're going into your mind, and it's automatic writing, which is super cool. And if you guys have never done it, and you're like, what the hell is automatic writing? That's where you're writing, you're going through this meditation, and then they're like, and pick up your pen and write. And you're just writing. It's like a free write in school. Yeah. And you're just writing, and you're not reading, and you're not caring. You're just writing. And then you go back into the meditation. And then you read it after.
Oh, wow. What did you discover from that experience your first time?
I probably have 200 pages of writing
Holy
because of all the
schmoly.
journeys I've done. But that I'm supposed to go forward, work with the people who are least willing to do it.
Least likely to believe.
Least likely to believe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you have that really unique perspective to be able to bridge that gap, because you do come from a culture, and you were entrenched in that culture for the majority of your life.
Yeah.
So you can speak that language, you know that perspective, and having experienced some of these kind of woo journeys and
Sure.
things like that, you can actually talk from a place of authority about what it is, what you're going to experience, what you're going to gain from it. And that's kind of what I wanted to sort of steer our direction that way is, what does somebody receiving Reiki, what do they gain, or what benefit do they get from this energy work that you're doing, whether it's, physically in the room together or distance or however you're sending it?
I think it depends on the intention of the person receiving, because they set an intention at the beginning, and and Reiki works whether you feel anything or not, whether you have this huge sliding door moment or you don't.